guy Bendu, and I'm coming at y'all with another video. So this may trigger a lot of y'all. I don't know how y'all going to feel. I'm about to be using some strong language up in this joint, as you can tell by the thumbnail. But this is the most hypocritical shit I've seen in my fucking life, and we're going to get into what I'm talking about right now. So first off, you know, we all know Joe Biden has a history of being a drug warrior. We all know this. And as a marijuana smoker myself, that makes me not like him. Like, there's a ton of other reasons before we even get to marijuana why I don't fuck with Joe Biden, but this is one of those reasons as well. But this not only touches people that smoke marijuana, but people that are put in prison because of marijuana. You know, the non-violent offenses, you know, in connection with marijuana. So, and that's not even going into other drugs as well, because this is going to be about other drugs. But I'm using something like marijuana that should be a non-issue now in this country. A non-issue. It should be legalized fully, non-stop, or full stop. And it's still an issue with Joe Biden. And I'm just going to be showing you titles to kind of make my points. I'm going to source the articles down below, and you may actually see me covering some of these articles like later, you know, coming up soon. Because as I was reading through this, I just find it fascinating, you know, how anti-marijuana Joe Biden was. I knew, but when you really read the details of what he's been doing since he's been in office, and when in terms of, you know, when it comes to marijuana, it's amazing. But Biden at the cannabis crossroads. Biden at the cannabis crossroads. The president-elect's moves towards federal marijuana liberalization don't add up to legislation, and there will be tougher issues on the drug policy front ahead. So Joe Biden's at the cannabis crossroads, and as he's reaching that crossroad, here's what his press secretary has to say about it.
Does President Biden endorse Senator Schumer's bill on marijuana?
I've spoken in the past about the president's views on marijuana. Nothing has changed. There's no new endorsements of legislation to report today.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's at quite the crossroad they say he's at. Biden remains opposed to marijuana legalization. White House says minutes after senators unveil new bill. Joe Biden is still questioning if marijuana is a gateway drug, even though research doesn't support the idea. And here's the video of that.
The truth of the matter is, there's not nearly been enough evidence that has been acquired as to whether or not it is a gateway drug. It's a debate, and I want a lot more, before I legalize it nationally, I want to make sure we know a lot more about the science behind it. So it should not be a crime. It should be a civil penalty to the extent that it exists in states that don't choose to legalize. And nationally, I'm not prepared to push for the legalization. Medical marijuana, yes, but the legalization of marijuana for recreational use, in fact, is one that I need more data to make that judgment. But no one should go to jail for it, period.
Amazing, right? Fucking amazing. Former Vice President Joe Biden says his questions over marijuana's reputation as a gateway drug are holding him back from supporting legalization. Biden said at a Sunday town hall, and first of all, if you want to talk about gateway drugs, let's talk about the prescription drugs that we allow people to take that lead them to start doing shit like heroin. You know, the opioid crisis that white people are going through now. And I'm not trying to racialize. I'm not trying to make it a racial thing. What I'm saying is, back when it was crack cocaine, Joe Biden and a lot of other politicians, including Bernie Sanders, was like throw them niggas in jail. But when it was white people going through the opioid crisis now, oh, we need to send little Johnny needs rehab. Look, I'm not trying to racialize it. I'm speaking facts. If you're offended, you're a fucking snowflake, because that is facts. So, you know, now that, you know, white people like to talk about the opioid crisis now, why are we not having a conversation about how prescription drugs are a gateway to harder drugs like heroin and cocaine and fentanyl and all that shit? We never talk about that shit though. And Xanax and all that shit. Biden said at a Saturday town hall event that there's not nearly been enough evidence to confirm whether marijuana is a gateway drug. Evidence he said he would need before supporting federal legalization. That's bullshit. There has been research on the issue, however. It has been repeatedly failed to find solid evidence that marijuana leads people to harder drugs. The former vice president's openness to medical marijuana and state-specific policies is a change from his past, but his reluctance still separates him from other Democratic presidential candidates, most of whom openly support nationwide legalization. So here's his fucking vice president. Actually, hold on. Biden's White House is firing staffers for marijuana use. That's a mistake. Let's be real. White House staffers drinking is more of a risk than if they're toking. Yeah, and let's also bring up this video from the Breakfast Club of Kamala Harris admitting that she smokes weed.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like in
And
college,
I inhale. I did inhale.
You did inhale? Okay.
Amazing how she didn't get fired. So again, this is the American Prospects article. Biden at the cannabis crossroads. Shortly after the election, House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer sent a Dear Colleague letter to members that outlined legislative priorities for the waning days at 116th Congress. One of them is the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, the MORE Act. Hoyer indicated that the bill may come up for a vote in early December. A legislative victory, albeit in just one house, would complement decisions by voters who legalized marijuana in 5 states earlier this month. More reflects realities on the ground. Marijuana is now mainstream on par with alcohol and tobacco. Pot consumers want to consume in peace. Ganjapreneurs want to quit hauling around trunkloads of cash and looking over their shoulders for bad guys, and law enforcement just wants to be done with all of it. So to the right wingers, that if you're still arguing against marijuana, you're arguing against your pro-business narratives that you typically like to argue against. Biden, one of the original war on drugs warriors, now supports decriminalization, swayed by the overwhelming evidence that locking up people for minor marijuana infractions ruins lives and wastes law enforcement and other public resources. The president-elect supports expungement and giving states the power to, and the reason why they're never going to regulate it is because a lot of people are going to get let out of prison once they legalize it, and guess what? A lot of forced labor. You know what they try to accuse China of? Forced labor. A lot of their free labor that these corporations get is going bye-bye too. So that's why that at least is not going to happen under Biden. I don't see legalization happening under Biden. The president-elect supports expungement and giving states the power to regulate the emerging legal industry without continually worrying about capricious federal actions. I hope I said that right. Joe Biden's evolutions on marijuana policy should not be understated. Yeah, they should, because he's about in 1985 right now. In terms of, or maybe the 90s, I'll give him credit. Maybe say the 90s, the mid to late 90s. He's definitely not in today. Most people are talking about legalization. There's some Republicans talking about legalization. Libertarians have always been talking about legalization, but now you have some Republicans talking about it. So he's in the 90s, which is why I say Joe Biden is a far right winger. So yeah, it should be understated because he's still in the 90s, says Justin Streckel, whatever the fuck his name is, political director for NORML, the marijuana advocacy group. How can you be a marijuana advocate and part of an advocacy group and say his evolution shouldn't be understated? Fuck out of here, dog. He's going from one of the chief architects of the escalation of marijuana arrests in recent history to now calling for its decriminalization. How about you just legalize it? Full stop. But cannabis legalization is what the MORE Act's descheduling would amount to. Hasn't found favor with the president-elect. The 2020 Democratic Party platform stripped out references to marijuana, a step backward from 2016. So again, they went from lowering the age. I think Hillary was going to lower it to like 55, and Joe Biden was talking 60. And I think it's not even that now. He was talking about the public option as well. That's not happening. He was talking about de- won't even allow marijuana talk, like legalizing or decriminalizing it, allowed to be in the Democratic Party platform. That Democratic Representative Barbara Lee of California, co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus and a longtime legalization leader, voted against adding a legalization plank to the party platform, speaks values about the pressure placed on legalization advocates to get in sync with Biden. In a scenario where legislative and administrative descheduling have been ruled out, Biden could direct the DEA and FDA to move marijuana to Schedule II of the Controlled Substances Act with other drugs with only a high potential for abuse, like morphine, codeine, and fentanyl, which those drugs should be on the Schedule 2. or should be put in the same, it should be put in the category where marijuana is now. Switch all of those and put it with marijuana. This is fucking ridiculous. Those drugs should be treated how marijuana is treated now, and marijuana should have been legalized since forever. Those drugs have actually killed people, fentanyl especially. So the point of me going through all that is to show you, finally, to get to this video where we reach the fuckery, where we reach the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy was already there, but this is going to blow your fucking mind.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they've become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
So there you have it. That was so hardcore drug warrior Joe Biden. That was a side by side of him, giving his drug warrior spiel side by side to his fucking son smoking crack. So everything I just talked about previously was marijuana. Bro, your son's a crackhead, dog. Your son was fucking smoking crack.
We don't do crack. We don't do that. Your crack is whack.
Crack. Oh, raggy? What? So should your kid be in fucking jail, bro? Right now? No, he's not. He's on fucking CNN and CBS and MSNBC, all of them, touring about, talking about his addiction, how hard it was for him in life, It was so hard for me to be smoking crack while I'm flying around the fucking world, accumulating wealth off of my father's name, making $50,000 for basically being my dad's seed, coming from my dad's ball sack, So yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard, very hard to talk about my addiction with all that going on. And you know what? I've been doing finger paintings now, and I sell them for thousands of dollars. But no, it's not. That's not a scam. What, bro? You know how many people you threw in jail? You fucking criminalize their illness, which addiction is an illness, and you criminalize that for them, but your kid gets to walk scot-free and now gets to do a whole scam and make money off of his addiction as well, and he gets to ridicule people about coming at him for his addiction. At the same time, you're firing people for smoking weed. Again, raggy? Nah, B, fuck out of here, dog. Fuck him and his kid, dog. Just the type of shit. Now, this is where I'm about to get disrespectful, dog. You threw people like that look like me in prison, for drug-related crimes. And nobody sees the hypocrisy in that. nobody, like, you know, especially black people, especially the Black Lives Matter crowd. I remember during the election, I got called a coon, a Trump supporter, for not even saying I was going to vote for Trump, which I wasn't. I never was in 2020. But just for saying we shouldn't be voting for Joe Biden solely because of his record, you know, with the drug war and with the crime bill. And how do you make that work in your brains now? He's still doing the same shit. I'm going to be covering another article about how he's going to be throwing more pot offenders, more marijuana offenders in jail, like back in jail now that COVID's kind of winding down. And nobody sees this is why I say fuck Joe Biden, fuck his kid. If Hunter Biden wants to die tomorrow from a drug overdose, they're going to be sitting here saying, "Oh my God, it's so sad." This, then, y'all about to hate me. Good, because you should be in jail if you ask me. Hunter Biden should be in prison right now, but he gets to walk free because he's Hunter Biden, because he's Joe Biden's son. And this is the hypocrisy people are talking about. I mean, it's really not much more I can say. I feel like everything just spoke for itself there. Like, and people will try to excuse this. I've seen people try to excuse this. You can't. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and close the video out there. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Man, I've been loving the engagement y'all been having with the channel, man. Everything from commenting to liking to sharing. I really appreciate it, y'all. Keep it up, man. You know, YouTube is a motherfucker with this algorithm, bro. Jesus Christ, man. So again, thank you for showing the love, guys. I wanted to get angrier, but it's kind of late where I'm at now, so I can't like fucking be screaming my head off, because I envision screaming my head off on this segment, but I'm recording this kind of late, so I can't do that, which is probably a good thing, because I would have said some things, you know. I would have said some things to say that. So with that being said, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Peace.